COVID-19 is a most mobile phenomenon. It rivals the movement of capital and capitalism as a whole, in terms of when you look at it, how rapidly it moves around, how much there are no sacred places for it. So in a way, it is an instructive disease about mobility without constraints. And one of the ways of dealing with such a disease for which there's hardly any cure, not enough science, and everybody is running after it, is to close borders, territorial control. And whenever borders are closed, especially at a time like this when all sorts of people cross borders for various reasons, some of them documented, some undocumented, it has implications for real lives. What happens, for example, if the borders were closed and you were hemmed in a very precarious situation without a means of livelihood, or the very idea of closing borders and closing economic activities have impinged upon your livelihood as it does for everyone, even well-established formal economic structures. How much more of the informal sector, where you've been trying all along to make ends meet at the margin, and you suddenly find yourself in a closed down and with no means of livelihood. Structural inequalities are difficult to change. But one thing that the coronavirus has above many other viruses is that even as previous viruses like Ebola have tended to cross borders, they have always tended to be reduced to particular geographies. Very rapidly, coronavirus seem to have developed a technique for defying that logic. It has overwhelmed the whole world and therefore become the challenge for everyone, regardless of your race or class or geography. And that is a very humbling thing. It means that we cannot afford to outsource responsibility for it. And I think this is a very good avenue for policy rethinking, for maybe the WHO to rally forces and see what is the bigger picture here, what lessons can we learn, globally speaking, and how can we begin to implement that, conscious of the fact that the very inequalities that COVID-19 took advantage of persist after it has ended. And I think it requires a lot of humility and the generosity of spirit for us to say, whether it affects you more or less, we are all in together. And let's begin to see how we can survive together. Yeah.